Hello everyone, Stormwind1 here. Today we'll be talking about localized strong severe storm risks that will be going on over the next few days across parts of the south here. We're also going to be looking towards the future as well. Some models are indicating maybe our next decent severe weather set might come up next weekend as well, while some models are showing a big trough in the western US and possibly a pretty decent ridge in the southeast as well. Before we get started this video, if you guys like weather-related content, you can subscribe to my channel. We do this stuff here all the time on this channel. Plus, we'll have more updates on some of these topics here as well over the next couple of days. So definitely stay tuned for any videos I post about these topics as well. We're going to first get started with reviewing some of the severe weather events back on Tuesday and Wednesday. We're going to start off with Tuesday. Man, Tuesday was a pretty active period. There was actually two different areas when it comes to severe weather. You got one in the Midwest, that's where you had some of your supercells. One of those produced a pretty photogenic stovepipe tornado in the northern part of Iowa as well. Along with some of those supercells, did produce some large hail and also some damaging winds as well. You had another cluster of severe thunderstorms across portions of Texas into portions of Louisiana. We did have a couple of strong, I believe we had a strong tornado down there as well near Jarrell, Texas. I think that's the name of the town. Had a strong tornado down there as well, and eventually all of it formed into a big MCS, and so which lasted for a decent period of time, but eventually died down whenever it got to Mississippi as well. So overall, it was a pretty decent day here, and I'm pretty sure we're done with storm surveys out there for Tuesday as well. Then if we look into Wednesday here, now I will mention that at least when it comes to supercell tornadoes, we didn't really see much way of supercell tornadoes, which is a good thing. However, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bust. You still had these big cluster of thunderstorms that rode over a good chunk of real estate here across portions of the lower Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, and the lower Mississippi River valleys as well. And they did produce a lot of wind damage as well. Not only damaging straight line winds, but we also had QLCS tornadoes as well. And so far, there have been 16 tornadoes out there. Now, I will mention that the National Reserve of Louisville does not have their tornado reports in the system just yet. At least I don't think so, because so far, for what I've seen, they have confirmed 10 tornadoes in central Kentucky. So technically, it's 26. So it kind of makes up for some of the supercell tornadoes, regardless where the bullseye was pretty much in this area right here with that 15%. We didn't see much way of tornadoes in there. A lot of the supercells didn't get organized very well out there as well, and there was also other stuff that was going on as well. But regardless, I think this performed decently well here, despite of not having much way of supercell tornadoes out there as well. I think the QSS tornadoes and the damaging winds kind of makes up for it as well. So it was certainly quite a damaging event as well, especially when it comes to straight line winds. This is the current look at the watch and warnings across the country. We actually have a severe thunderstorm watch over southern Missouri and northern Arkansas. This is going to be part of a decent severe weather event that may roll through portions of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and of course southern Missouri. It will go deep into the overnight hours into early tomorrow morning as well. We also do have flash flood watches in effect over some of those areas as well, mainly far eastern Oklahoma, central Arkansas, eventually getting into northern Mississippi as well, where you see these training of thunderstorms as well, which they will produce a lot of rain in a short period of time. Got some wind issues across portions of the Ohio Valley and Northeast. Red flag warnings still continue over portions of New Mexico, Colorado, Kansas, Texas, and Oklahoma. Wind issues over portions of desert Southwest. And you got some winter weather issues over portions of the Northwest as well. But for the most part, it's not very active out there for today. And here's the storm prediction outlook here. If we go back a little bit to day one, which is today, we got slight risk for severe weather over eastern Oklahoma, southern Missouri, most of Arkansas into southwestern Tennessee and northwestern Mississippi as well. There is an elevated tornado risk out there of 5% over northeastern Oklahoma, northern Arkansas as well, and it kind of falls along the border of Arkansas and Missouri. Damaging winds will be possible in the northeastern part of Arkansas where they become into an organized line of storms. but hail is looking to be the primary threat out of the rest, especially in the northwestern part of the slight risk area where we do have the potential for some significant hail as well. That's what that hatched area means there as well. Day 2, which is tomorrow, got a slight risk over southeastern Arkansas, south central Mississippi to southwest central Alabama. And you got a large margin risk covering a decent chunk of real estate as well across the south. We're not expecting any tornadoes, at least for the time being, for tomorrow. Damaging winds look to be the main threat, but there could also be some hail for some of those storms as well. And then on day 3, which is Sunday, we got a slight risk over portions of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, mainly in the southwestern portion of Alabama, to be more specific, out there as well. And really, the main threat on this day here looks to be gusty winds and some hail out there as well. And for today, 4 to 8 day outlook, not much going on, at least for now, anyway. So let's get started for tonight. So we do have thunderstorms currently developing over portions of southern Missouri. Some of these will become supercells as well before they really begin to cluster up as well. Really, all hazards will be possible: damage winds, large hail, and also the possibility for a couple isolated tornadoes as well. And you can see here when we get to the overnight hours, you can see how they really cluster up as well. But there's also new storms that do form to the northwest as well, and those could bring in significant hail as well. There's going to be the updrafts in some of these storms are going to be pretty strong as well, which is going to lead to a large hail. But you still got that tornado threat to contend with as well. And then another round kind of refires by early Saturday morning over portions of eastern Oklahoma and Arkansas as well by Saturday morning. And you can see how that cluster of thunderstorms do continue to move to the southeast as well. They're probably going to extend the slight risk a bit farther to the northwest as well, because this could lead to a pretty decent damage wind event as well, and it could lead to some hail. But the tornado threat looks to be pretty low with this one. Which, if we do check out the significant tornado parameters, really for today, or later tonight, I should say, so decent numbers, generally a 1 to a 2, not very significant or anything like that. We'll get an average box sounding over western Arkansas. You can see here, western values are not very impressive here, but you do have wind direction with height, storm to velocity values, generally 200, 300, which would be favorable for some tornadoes. But the hodograph itself is pretty tiny as well, which kind of limits the tornado threat just a little bit as well. You also got decent elevated mix layer, which does lead to discrete mode, and mid-level lap rates, not too bad either. But downdraft K values are pretty elevated, with over 1,000 as well. So really overall, conditions can be favorable for some hail, damage winds, and then you got that low-end tornado risk as well within that as well. And here you go, getting into Saturday morning. Still got some decent numbers over portions of Oklahoma and Arkansas. If we get a sounding out there, wind shear values are not going to be very strong here. Same way with the lap rates as well. But then again, still the downdraft cape is still pretty elevated as well. And I think the main threat with these storms here will be damage winds, especially given the fact you do have elevated downdraft cape values as well, which will help increase the damage wind threat. There's still that possible low risk for some hail, and then you got that very low risk for a tornado. Very low, but it's not zero overall. And that's Saturday morning. You can see here throughout the day on Saturday, the numbers are not really impressive at all. Pretty much the tornado risk for Saturday is pretty much slim to none. And you can see here some of those numbers do begin to increase into Sunday as well, which we'll move on to the NAM for Sunday, which you can see here for Friday. Pretty decent parameters there for supercells. And here's Saturday here. You can see here elevated supercell composite values. But then again, for when it comes to tornadoes, the conditions are not very favorable for tornadoes, which if we do get sounding out there, wind shear values are not very impressive, but there's a decent amount of instability to work with. And also lap rates are elevated, so you could get some decent updrafts. But these storms have a hard time kind of maintaining themselves as well. But you kind of get one of those situations where you get a strong updraft with some of these storms here, and then when they kind of begin to fall apart, they could create strong outflow winds as well. So I don't think Saturday looks to be a big deal or anything. Now it's just in Mississippi. Let's go back into Texas here. We're not going to try to get a contaminated sounding or anything like that. You can see as you get further back to the west, decent amount of instability. Well, there's actually plenty of instability, but wind shear is just really lacking in here. This kind of looks like a classic setup here for summertime thunderstorms. They go up, they don't last very long, but occasionally you may get some small hail and maybe some pretty gusty winds out of it as well. But to me, Saturday doesn't look like a big day to me. But Sunday does look a little bit better as we kind of get into Sunday. If we go to north central Louisiana, if we get a sounding out here, see what it looks like. If it's going to load for us. There we go. Okay, there's a little bit of contamination in sound here, and you can see here, if you want to know what a contaminated sound looks like, pay attention to the left side of SKT here. When you see these red lines kind of pop up, that's kind of indication that this is a contaminated sounding here close to a thunderstorm. You do not necessarily want contaminated soundings here, but just by looking at the sounding here, it's not a massive setup here or anything, which your values are still on the weaker side, even though you're close to a thunderstorm. Well, sometimes in some situations, when it comes to contaminated soundings, you can see a pretty ridiculous sounding on some big severe weather steps. But on this one here, it's not too bad. If we get a different sounding out there, if we go farther to the south here, hopefully we're kind of further away from the contamination area. If it's going to load for us anyway. But you can see here, as that kind of loads in, you do see here with these decent superset composite values, which does go across even into portions of Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, into southern Georgia as well. And there may be an increased risk here, maybe a low end risk into for Monday across portions of Georgia, maybe the portions of Florida as well. And kind of going back to the previous day, you can see what I mean here. Since it's not a contaminated sounding here, it's a more accurate sounding. And you can see here, wind shear is not very impressive here. A lot of wind direction of high here, but the winds are not strong. The hodograph is very tiny. I think overall the tornado threat here is very limited here. Very low risk. But I think the main threat here will be damage winds, and there could be some hail as well. The mid-level evaporates are on the stronger side as well, which could help with some stronger updrafts out there as well. So I think Sunday overall looks like a wind and hail risk type of day. Not much way for tornadoes. And here's the sounding for southwestern Georgia on Monday. Very serious situation here. Not much wind shear going on at all, but you do have a good combination of instability and also good mid-level lap rates. So kind of looks like a summertime type of day where you get these popcorn showers and thunderstorms. With some of these thunderstorms, occasionally they may be strong and severe with some of those stronger updrafts. Could create some small hail, and then when they kind of fall apart, they create strong alpha winds, so sometimes they can be damaging as well. So really, over the next few days here across the deep south here, looks like except for Monday, or I meant to say today, generally for the most part here, low end wind and hail risk days, not big tornado days or anything like that. Looks like to me it's mostly going to be like summertime type of thing. Let's check out the GFS model here. Let's kind of go beyond Monday, which here we go into Easter Sunday. Easter is right around the corner. If we do check out the GFS model for Easter Sunday, looks pretty good across most of the southwest there, warm and dry. So it looks good for Easter. Maybe on the chilly side across the northwest with occasional snow and rain showers, especially in the higher elevations. There's a system that does move through portions of the Dakotas and Minnesota. Could bring in a mix of some rain and snow. And that does extend to portions of Iowa as well. And those showers do move into the deep south as well. The Ohio Valley looks all right. Maybe a chilly northwest wind. And then you get into the New England states. Some general rain and snow showers. Looking pretty chilly overall. So really the best spot here when it comes weather-wise to Easter looks like the desert Southwest and even into the southern and central plains as well. Not bad looking overall for Easter, but everywhere else it looks pretty for the most part. And moving after Easter here on Monday here, you got this strong low. Well, not really a strong low, but you do have a low pressure system that moves across the northern plains, the upper Midwest, into the Great Lakes. Could bring us some snowflakes into the Ohio Valley as well, especially in the higher elevations. And another low wants to try to develop along the front as well. Some also been hinting on something for the northeast with this one here. This is what the GFS suggests here. I think the NAM shows something pretty interesting with it as well. Which we could check out the Canadian Mall real quick here. Show us something pretty similar as well. So there might be some type of storm system that can move up along the east coast. Maybe a surprise snowstorm. We'll have to wait and see where malls trend next with that, because that looks pretty darn interesting for April. And then you kind of get into towards midweek. Now, not a very strong agreement here when it comes to midweek here. GFS has got a strong system moving out of the Rockies into the upper Midwest. Maybe somewhere, maybe a strong severe storm risk, but then again, there's not a very strong agreement with this. Not a whole lot of support with it. But something that does have plenty of support with it is when you get to next weekend. You notice here we get a big system that moves into the western U.S. Southeast ridge begins to build in the southeast. This sets up for another classic decent severe weather event, which you can see right here. If we actually back this up here a little bit to peak time heating on Friday, you got a very strong low here, kind of similar to what we just experienced here just a couple days ago. Strong low comes out of the Rockies. Very strong southerly flow here. Now, how the system kind of comes out or ejects, the placement of the low is likely going to change. That's what we don't necessarily know yet, but what we do know is that there looks like there could be a pretty decent trough moving for the Rockies, and it kind of ejects out of the Rockies and might try to bring in severe weather risk over portions of the central U.S. as well. Which, if you do look into the ensemble guidance, like the European ensembles, 18Z on Friday, classic southeast ridge here, you got a ridge that sets up over the deep south here, and that can lead to severe weather over portions of the Midwest in the Central Plains as well. And then you get into Saturday, gets a little bit more amped as well. Kind of over some of the similar areas here for a potential severe weather risk. Kind of pushes a little bit further to the east, maybe including the Great Lakes region into Saturday. And then Sunday here, you notice here that it doesn't look as oppressive. Well, that means that the agreement's not getting as strong here, so we get further out here. It's pretty much what it means here. But it could continue further to the east here, maybe getting into portions of the Ohio Valley. But then again, things will likely change as well since we're still far out. But here's the GFS ensembles here. Pretty decent agreement there coming out of Rockies. But then you get into Sunday. Wherever it doesn't look very impressive from an ensemble guidance to me, that means there's just not a really good agreement with the models. At least the ensembles anyway. But you could kind of tell a little bit where your trough is as well. And there may be some severe weather getting mixed in there as well. And then you kind of get into Monday. Who knows what it could look like on Monday here. But for right now, there is some type of signal that we may see another period of severe weather over the central U.S. It's definitely something to watch next weekend. But then again, things will likely change here over the next few days. But it's definitely something to watch here over the next couple of days. But anyways, guys, that's all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, like this video. Hit that like button if you do like my channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, put a comment section down below. I answer you guys questions. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.